filming up anatomy take 3. On the series that follows, we follow cat's growling again. They'll never get along. We follow on from what we covered on the sills, and we're heading on to the floor. The floor on Doris is actually quite bad, but I actually have 2 half floor pans from Express Steel to refit to the car, so they'll be getting changed in their entirety. And when you look at the amount of repair that needs to be done on the floors, and you look at what it takes to cut a floor out, it's not a lot. You have very little on the seat brace. You have obviously the seam towards the tunnel to do, but the floor edge is something that you don't have to do anyway. On the last clips, you will also find some stop it people. Totally lost my place now. You will also find some coverage on the back section above the cones, the spring mounts. These need a bit of attention because a lot of cars actually look okay, but the metal's really soft. And if you're going to spend the time to actually restore a car, invest money in it, invest your time in it, you really want to get a look-see there. The cone sections are available really cheaply, so it's really worth pulling the top of that off and replacing it. You'll soon find out if the metal's good or if the metal's fatigued. A lot of them around about there, the metal's fatigued, and the water that actually sits in the bottom corner just rots things. It just rots like nobody's business, so it's well worth getting in there. Hope you enjoy take 3. Now onto the floor. Unfortunately, the imp has many places in the floor where it likes to rot. These are pretty well known. They really are. This is the lip on the floor. There. The bit of the wheel tub meets it, and unfortunately, as you can see, not only has it rotted down there, it is also pretty rotten up here. However, one is always inspired when we see some decent coloured good metal. Now, not only has it rotten all along, it's also soft and well pitted. Now we will blast this off. However, the looks of the floor and the amount of pitting, what we will be doing here is we'll be changing the whole floor section. Now it's quite good here, and as you can see the car is white, however it looks as though it might have slipped with a painter, because it was certainly never actually painted. It has a dusting of the original red coating, it has a dusting of the white, but poor paint is probably the reason that the car's actually had such early demises. Now, one comment I'll make about these is these are actually aftermarket. Your own floor may actually have proper mounts in place. These cars never came fitted with seat belts. They were always aftermarket or dealer fitted. We will be replacing these, but they will be welded into the floor. Box section under the seats. Everyone's favourite topic. Now, I don't have the original parts on this, but what was here was an absolute work of art. There was a bit of aluminium silicone sealer from your local DIY outlet, and that covered this whole section. And oh, here we go, I think. No, that's actually seam sealer, and what's left of the lip that joins the middle sill to the floor on the outer sill. Overall, the box section is not that bad. This is where the heater channel normally goes, and there we go. What looked like it was okay, just a little pinhole, is actually really weak. So, and if I look up, it looks as though the return lip has also gone, so it looks as though some repair will be needed to this channel. This is normally where the heater hoses run. They don't actually run inside the sill. So if you're working on a car that has needed some work down here and the hoses are still in place, be very careful. Ditto for the other side. Some cars not only have them with heater hoses and wiring in here, on the driver's side, sometimes the wiring runs down the small space here between the floor and the box section that carries the heater channel. So be very careful while drilling, grinding, cutting, anything else. Box section here looks bad, however, other than some swelling and whatnot, it doesn't look too bad. The floor, when I replace it, will be replaced all the way up to here. So, not too bothered about this. I'll need to relocate these. However, if you look how they're retained inside, they are actually double skinned. You'll see some here, and I'll get some shots of the car when I flip over, when I look down. But both, all of these points have, you can just see the spot welds here and around. These are actually double skinned. The captive nuts are actually retained behind this section, and taking this skin off, which is what I'll be doing, and reforming a brand new skin that should be continuous all the way around to here, is not as hard a job as a lot of people make it out to be. It's actually harder to botch it than it actually is to do properly, because you're honestly just taking out the spot welds that are there, cutting out this section. As you can see, it has no attachment inside. The one fold it has up here, if I can get the camera in close enough, is just a fold, and it comes all the way to the floor. The return is here, which again attaches to the floor. So as far as section goes for making, it's not a bad section to make. Not a bad section at all. And you're almost guaranteed. There we go. You see me, I've nearly got it out already. Cutting that out, you can almost get it out in one piece. Makes a fantastic template to put it back in. It is spot welds here. You can take a cut up. I find it a lot easier just to grind off this corner edge, take it off, and then peel off the bit here with the spot welds. You can take the spot weld drill bit and actually just roll it with a pair of nose pliers, like a tin can. Saves you cutting too far into the metal. It makes a nice flush finish to plug weld back on. And there's where your heater hoses head up, is inside here. That's the inside door pocket. I think that kind of covers the floor. Just a quick comment on the rollover jig, as I had a couple of queries as to how much space it actually takes to sit the car in the jig. Well, obviously I have a lot of clearance here because of the roof height, but to give you an idea, the roof at this angle, peak on the car, is just a bit taller than me, so it's probably sitting about 2 metres, and completely rotated, if I lose the hammer for a section, rotation wise, you need to forgive the position of the camera. Always makes me laugh. Can you hear that? That's either part of the ink falling off or something similar, but there you go. If I lock it in place, that is about as much of an angle as you're going to get. Top to toe, still only 2 metres. Your standard plasterboard height in the house is normally 2.4, take that down to 2.3, so most of your integral garages will probably be sitting at 2.2 or 2.3. And when you look at the clearance that I have underneath, you can easily drop that another half a metre to make it much more low profile and a lot easier to manipulate. It's only a matter of spreading the legs between the pieces at the bottom, which will lower the centre point down. So it'll give you the same rotation as before, and as can be seen, it's not one-handed job to actually rotate it once it's sitting there, but the car itself is actually wider than the legs at the bottom, so if you can get the car into your garage, you'll be able to put it on the jig. These things, they're great for access when the car's structurally sound, not fantastic when the car isn't structurally sound and you're working on it. You will need to add more braces. You will need to support the car underneath to stop the shell bending, because these things get very, very bendy, and there's been many cars out there that have actually suffered because once you've welded it back together, once you put the sills in, you know, that's it. The frame round about here is done. Now, I don't have the doors in the car at the moment, but the doors will be going back on the car when I go to work on it. There will be other supports underneath. This is basically to stop the shell flopping while working on it. These don't have to be anything fantastic. They don't have to be, you don't have to go and buy a Carolina or anything like that. If you're doing this at home, you've got all the time in the world. You're not constrained by the monetary needs of a proper body shop. You can take the time, you can support the car properly, and once you've supported the car properly, the rest of it is not too bad. Or should I say, the guide I use most of the time is actually the door. The door sitting in the aperture is a big tell on the condition of the shell itself and how well it's actually been put together. When you remove the sill, you take quite a bit of structure out of the car. Same with the floors, specifically the floors. So for anybody going that far, if you feel that it's going to be a struggle for you, I would strongly recommend finding another shell rather than pulling 4 sills and everything out at the same time, if you're not going to spend the time to make up some supports, some braces, and actually give the job the time that it's due to do properly. Okay, back to the floor. Now I need to do a bit of shimmying as the car's at an angle. Oh dear. Any of you young fellas watching, I've only got one piece of advice for you. Don't get old. If you get old, it's really bad. Now, to continue on from the floor, here we have an example of where it rots, and if you give me one moment, I forgot my highly technical testing tool once again. Don't get old, it's bad. And here we have our floor, and when we look at what's here, well, it's raining rust, fantastic. You have a small brace part here, looks reasonably okay, but where the water's been here, the floor has gone. And if we take a look round, in here we can see that the inner skull, in many places, is still intact. If we look at the inner box section, we still have paint. However, someone's been painting black stuff up here. The seam sealer's cracked, and one of the things that we can't check on this being a very early car is what's behind here, which is where we spied that rot. However, we can take a quick peekaboo down towards the scuttle panel, or as close as we can, and in the big scheme of things, that actually looks not too bad. So I'm pretty certain that that's behind the scuttle, and what we've got is probably limited to up here and in the corner. So that overall is not too concerning. Round the floor, we do have a little bit of telltale rot on the seat braces, which are here. Now, these are quite structural, so we'll get those cut out and repaired. When the floor's off, we'll have good access to the back of these. Again, if you were going looking for your amp, you'd be checking down here. I'm not 100% sure if I can capture this, if I can keep the light on it as well as going around the corner. But you will see where my fingers are, we have pinholes. Now, and you can hear it, I can actually, that's me separating the floor from the middle sill, so there you go. Rotting all the way along here, and when you're going to buy a car, these are fairly easy sections to get to. You can hear the difference here. And if you can do such things with your fingers, it's a goner. Once again, now there's a few common problems back here, and they're not all related to just rot. It's very, very common, I've found, that people try to jack the imp up here on the floor. Very bad idea, caves the floor in. Especially if the structure down here is bad, which this one is. So, yep, if you see a bump in the floor, it doesn't mean it's been an accident. It just means it's been loved, it's been used, somebody's put the jack there instead under the back suspension arms where it should be. Probably while it's teeming with rain. But overall, inside for the box section, other than the very bottom lip, floor-wise, I'm reasonably confident that we can do a good repair in here, while keeping a lot of the original parts, such as these little areas for the water drain. Now, I mentioned about the fixings and the double skins. There we go. You can see at the bottom here, which is part of the floor, that if you come across, it is held in place by a little bar, so you can, actually it's not too bad, I've seen a lot worse. You can't see down the one that matters, but overall, floor wise, I've seen it a lot worse given the rot that we have here, and I wish I'd actually kept the footage of it. Unfortunately, it's in the big pile of archives. I'll attach it if I can find it. But this whole section was lovely. Nice bit of aluminium, nice silicone sealer all around about it. Just a thing of beauty. Now, when it comes to these sections, these are the bits that I warned about with the step sill and the cover, and it's extremely easy to cover that section up. However, you can get access here to see what's happening with the end of the step sill. because your step sill starts here and goes all the way back. You can't get access down here. You can see in here the top of the box section if it's bad. If you look down through this after lifting the back seats, okay, we can see daylight. So I'll give us a wave from the other side. We see daylight through there, but actually if I go to the other side and we look down, we can actually see the rot and the holes in the floor. And if we look down through the door pockets, again we can see that section. Further, if we go down here, which is the other side of the car, it actually looks much more sensible. But if we look here, you can see daylight. And if we look here, we can see, if I can actually get the camera in, the rot at the back corner. Other than that, seam-wise, it's not too bad. Hole here, I will suspect that could possibly have been for seat belts, but who knows. Now we'll go to the back. Okay, now we're on to what is normally termed the cone sections at the back. These are actually your rear suspension mounts, and they contain a few different areas that you will probably have to repair. One of them is behind here. Now, you can take that out if you need to. It's not difficult to take out the edges to give you access. Generally you won't need to, but you can see here evidence of not rot. However, if you actually look at the state of the metal, it's gone. Luckily on this one, it's not rotted as far as the rear seat mounts. If you look at the green chamois that I did, you'll actually find that I had to actually make that section. It was quite horrific, the rot that was in that. So what we'll do now is we'll go and look at the other side of that, because it's quite telling of what you need to repair. This curve down here is quite important. This flat section is quite important when you see how it relates at the other side and where it can actually trap water. And rear cone time. Now, you'll see a few chew marks up here. This was actually me. Easy enough repair, but sometimes getting the set screws out of the back seat mounts can be absolutely horrendous. Normally I find if I take a flap disc and I actually grind the exposed threads, which are usually rotted to hell, flat back with the nut, the combination of removing the rusted threaded end and the heating of the nut allows me to take them out from behind. Not in this case. In this case, unfortunately, the rust monsters had moved in permanently, so that was a goner. Now, this is the bottom side of your back seat, as you'll have seen, relative to the... I'll take a quick look around it. Inside, there we go. That is actually your spring mount. So if we take a run back round here, this is what is affectionately known as the cone section. And given the state of the sills in this car, the floor in this car, I'm absolutely astounded that this actually looks original. We will, however, be taking it off, because this is actually made up of several sections, and the bit that I showed you at the seat behind that little extra bracket is this bit, and unfortunately the rust termites have moved in and Normally you have to, these are normally well rotted, I'm totally surprised, but we will be taking a section out of here, taking the cone off, repairing the flat section behind, which will be rather crusty, especially in this area, and taking out this very, very soft metal. It is structural, and there's no way that I'm going to the effort of putting new metal and restoring the rest of the car and even doing the paint on it without doing that section. It will come back and bite me. So still very encouraged that there's so much original material here. Always good when there's something to work with. So that cone section, when it will be replaced, that repair panel is one that was sent out to me from Cullen Rooney at CA Restoration and Fabrication. And if you want to see imps being repaired professionally, Cullen's Facebook pages and archives are well worth a visit. You will see lots of imps and variants in various states of undress, getting the full works or just getting a quick repair. And the jobs that he does are, well, how can I put it, there's not a corner of the imp that hasn't been repaired and documented on Cullen's pages. So well worth a visit. They are also archived at hillmanimp.org. So if you take a visit to there, you'll find Cullen's Corner and everything you need to see. Okay, just taking some advantage of the extra space while I still have it before the partition goes up. Now this is the other side of the car, and as we can see, pretty similar story. A-pillar arch on this one's totally gone, both inner and outer. So and we have a little letterbox in here. For some reason I always find this letterbox here on the driver's side always seems to go first. One of the mysteries of life. You'll see that we'll have soft metal around here. Some of that will need to be replaced. Floor. Sill section here, you can see a little bit more of the structure. If I peel this away, there is what is left of what should be the tail end of the sill. Which comes down here, and the front one end coming over to cover it up with a gap and a little return. So I'm fairly certain this side doesn't have a cover sill on it, as when we get up to here, the joint I spoke of, here, it's been filled in a little bit, but generally the same place where the rear wing comes down, covers over the top of the box section, which is underneath. And are we lucky enough to be able to see it? Yes. Here, other than these bits of foam, and again, it's another word of warning when you're working on the imp, these bits of foam seem to get stuffed in the damnedest places, hold water up to the end of it, and in this case at the end of the step sill, and cause a rot. But you can actually see this is actually the end of the box section. It should be here. This is the gap between the outer wing, the skin of it that comes down and meets it at the floor, against the box section, which is really the support, which is terminated here. This is just plain old end of the floor rot. Gone. This looks okay at first glance. It's not. It's just as bad as the rest. When we look at this cone sections here, similar story at the other side, and soft.